Welcome, everyone, to HogvilleNET YouTube Live. You know, it's our post-game analysis. The Arkansas Razorback men's basketball team back on the court Thursday night, back home in Bud Walton Arena after having its Central Arkansas scare a few days ago. And it looks like another scare. I mean, Arkansas fell behind by 7 at halftime. Credit Abilene Christian, the visitor, coming in and a big 13-3 run to close out the first half. The Wildcats go up 7 at the break. Then the Razorbacks actually fall behind by 9 points as ACU scores the first bucket of the second half. At that point, it's 37-28, and you're thinking, here goes Arkansas again. Remember, this is an Abilene Christian program, different coaching staff, similar playing style. In Musselman's second season, that gave Arkansas fits, led a lot in that game. Arkansas had to make a comeback. Another comeback. Arkansas finally gets things going and really kind of blows the doors off in the second half. I mean, after falling behind by 9, a 19-point swing the rest of the way. So most of the second half, Arkansas was plus 20. We go back to the previous game in North Little Rock against Lipscomb. Arkansas was up by 20 with a little over 10 minutes to go. So pretty much dominated 30 minutes of that game. In this game, it was a game of halves. And again, that run in that first half for Abilene Christian, down 3, goes up 7 at the break. Lead swelled to 9 early, just the first minute of the second half. And then Arkansas has a 19-point swing to win, you could say, going away. 83-73, Arkansas led by as many as 13 points, I believe. The Hogs went up 13 at some point there down the stretch. I think Tremont Mark pull-up 3 put Arkansas up 77-64 down the stretch. Arkansas had trouble at the free throw line in the 1-and-1. Mark missed the front end of one of those. I think Battle and Minifield right after that both went 1 of 2 there, and Abilene Christian was getting to the basket and scoring and kind of cutting it back inside of 10 points there. But Devo Davis goes 4-4 at the line down the stretch. Arkansas again wins this game by 10 points, double-digit win. Really, Arkansas doesn't have a lot of those lately. We know if they're haven't been losing, the Razorbacks have had to scratch out some wins. There are some exceptions in there. I think 3 games ago, Arkansas beat Furman by 14 points. I talked about the 20-point lead against Lipscomb. That turned into a 3-point win. This one doesn't feel great in terms of Arkansas having 2 strong halves, 2 really good halves. Certainly not. This is a team that's still got a lot to figure out. You look at the rotation and the way guys play minutes, and just the evolving door with the starting, with the starting group. It's just kind of a revolving door there. But we got some key players to go through and talk about, because the big news is Arkansas now has won 4 of its last 5 games. It may not feel that way, but in that stretch of games, Arkansas has actually split 1-1 against quad 1 teams that are ranked. When you look at Duke, that win at home looks better and better. I mean, Duke's NCAA net rating now creeping towards the top 10. Big win for the Blue Devils over a ranked Baylor team. I think it was yesterday or the day before. And then you've got, obviously, Arkansas lost to Oklahoma. The Sooners were unbeaten, ranked in the top 10 in the AP poll, really highly ranked in net. Finally, the Sooners lost to North Carolina, a team that beat Arkansas in the Bahamas. So you could start to see Arkansas has played a tough non-conference schedule so far. The team hasn't looked great, but 4 of their last 5 games, Arkansas has found a way to win. And again, they went 1-1 against quad opportunities and quad 1 game opportunities there. By the way, the Razorbacks now, still 1-3 in the quad 1. No results in quad 2. You look at quad 3, 2-1. This was a quad 4 win tonight. As tough as that game was, there's not a lot of value there, and it would have been awful to lose that game. Arkansas didn't win by a wide enough margin probably to get any bounce in net, but Arkansas's back inside the top 100 in net, up to 96. It's not a lot to cheer about, but, when we look at the SEC, and Arkansas's got a tough mid-major coming up, we can't really look beyond that and talk SEC as though that game's just a win against UNC Wilmington coming up in 9 days on the 30th to close out non-conference play back in Bud Walton. That'll be a Saturday. It's a midday game right around 4 o'clock start. But when you look ahead to the SEC, there's a lot of quad 1 opportunities for Arkansas to help that part of the resume. Other quad 2 games. Not a lot of bad losses on the docket, potential bad losses. Maybe a handful, maybe 4. So out of 18 SEC games, you got a lot of quality win opportunities. But even if you lose, those will be some quad 1, quad 2 games. And you've just got to figure out a way to make sure you don't have a bad loss in there. And I mentioned there's about 4 of those. We're going to go through some of that a little bit later. But again, Arkansas, what went right in the second half? I think it was, this wasn't a game where the ball moved greatly for Arkansas. Not a ton of assists in this game, but Arkansas was on fire scoring in the second half. A lot of that was to do with just attacking from better angles based on how Abilene Christian was playing, and guys like Tremont Mark, Caleb Battle, and Keon Minifield Jr. in only his second game, the sophomore transfer. His Bud Walton debut, he had turnover problems, a lot of those in the first half. I really like his offensive game, his quickness. He's got quick twitch stuff. He gets separation from guys. And what happens is, because he's so good on the blow-bys and drive-bys, you noticed a couple of times defenders backing off and leaving him space on the perimeter. He got an open three-point shot, wide open, just off a player put him on skates, worried about the drive. The three-point shot didn't go in for him. It was close. It skipped off the rim. It wasn't a bad look. But this guy brings a different element, because most of Arkansas's one-on-one scores really have to pound. They're not getting a ton of separation, and it's really tough shot making when you look at guys like Tremont Mark and Caleb Battle. We saw Mark really have his best game. He led Arkansas in scoring in the previous game, 15 big points in the the first half against Lipscomb, only 2 in the second half, and Arkansas had that bad stretch down the fourth quarter of that game and almost lost it. But Mark again leads the team in scoring, game high 25 points, season high 11 rebounds. He collected his first offensive rebound on the season in the first half. Here's a guy that hit the glass, got his offense going, led Arkansas at halftime in scoring, and increased the production even in the second half. I think he had 9 first half points and struck early and often in that second half. So a game high 25 points to go with 11 rebounds, a double-double. Chandler Lawson making another start on that front line, the 6'7", 6'8" forward with that crazy 7'7" wingspan. Chandler Lawson tonight, 9 points, very efficient from the field, as was Mark. We mentioned his scoring numbers. But Mark, in addition to those 9 points, 10 rebounds, 2 blocks, only 1 turnover on a night where Arkansas, especially in the first half, but just stunk the place up with kicking the ball around, losing the ball, turning it over in every imaginable way. And a good, a tough Abilene Christian team, comes in at 5-6, now 5-7, ranked outside the top 240 in the quad metric. So I mentioned that, that's a quad 4 win. But you have to, if it's a quad 4 opportunity, or that's what it is, you've got to win those games. You cannot lose them. It looked tough for a while. It looked like Arkansas might be really in for a bad run there. But I look at this game and I look at all the areas that Arkansas didn't do well in. And this is a game where I can probably point to a couple of areas really, where Arkansas wins. Welcome again, HogvilleNET YouTube Live postgame. You're a beautiful human being who knows details of Arkansas basketball. I got to see who posted that. That's scaring me a little bit. I haven't heard the word beautiful associated with my name maybe since I was being held in my mother's arms after birth. And I didn't know what words were then. I'm sure she said it. All right, but Arkansas 83-73 tonight. Thank you for the compliment, by the way. But let's just go through this. I mean, how do you fall behind 7 points at the break, 9 points to a team but with not a winning record? It is an Abilene Christian team that early in the year, start the season, went and knocked off Oklahoma State. This is a team traditionally in recent years, it's been a tough out, against high majors, upset Texas the year that Arkansas, and the only other time that, the Razorbacks are now 2-0 all time, the only times these teams played before was at Bud Walton Arena, also in December, late December game, 2020-21 season. We know that Arkansas team went on to go to the first of its back-to-back Elite Eights, first of back-to-back-to-back Sweet 16 runs. But Arkansas had to overcome a double-digit deficit in that game. Really looked bad in that outing. This is a different team. One familiar player, Arion Simmons, right here from Little Rock, the 501 Parkview. Kind of a Charles Barkley-esque 3-4 combo that can beat you with passes. He's a tough kid. Got early foul trouble in that first half, sat and didn't come back. Did some things that helped Abilene Christian. Number 24, the slasher getting to the rim, was a big problem all game. One of the post players for ACU, foreign national, that was really giving Arkansas trouble around the basket. And some of the other players, I mean, the McLean kid came in with only 2 of 17 on the season from 3. Knocks down 2 triples in the first half, including one to beat the buzzer to send the Wildcats to a 7-point lead at the break. He had some nice finishes at the rim, a pull-up jumper. There were some players in this game that gave Arkansas trouble as Arkansas continues to struggle, not only closing out defensive positions with rebounds, battling for 50-50 balls, preventing drives all the way to the rim. Early in the first half, Arkansas had trouble defending the three-point line off drives and kickouts. Arkansas did a much better job defending three-point shooting in that second half. But we'll go through some of the stats here in a little bit. We've gone through some of the individual performances. We talked Tremont Mark. I mentioned Chandler Lawson, a near double-double for him. Caleb Battle playing off the bench. I mean, Arkansas's bench production has carried it now 3 games in a row. The loss to Oklahoma, I think the starters only scored 17. A lot of that has to do with what Musman's done in his starting lineup. I mean, he's bringing guys, Battles was Arkansas's leading scorer most of the season, or much of it. He and Mark have kind of flip-flopped there. But even Mark of late's been playing off the bench. That was a case again today. Battles always played off the bench. Those were your 2 leading scorers. Battle with 18 points tonight, very efficient for him. 5 of 8 from the field, 3 of 4 from 3, 5 of 6 from the free throw line. Those are the kind of games we've seen a lot from him. He didn't play much, only 2 points in North Little Rock in the previous game. I think Musman's sending a message to everybody. There are no guarantees for minutes. There are no guarantees that you're going to go, get your shots up, because you got to do other things here. This was a game where Trevor in Brazil did some decent things in the first half, but wasn't giving Arkansas exactly what Musman needed. Only 15 minutes in this game. You looked at the front line, it was Lawson, and then Jalen Graham, some Mekhi Mitchell, but a lot of Jalen Graham as well in the second half and down the stretch. And Graham now 3 games in a row has given Arkansas some sparks here and there. There's still some, in the last 2 games now, Graham has combined for 4 rebounds. You need more from him there. Did have a couple of blocks. He's been making some hustle plays here and there, but you need more rebounds for him. A couple of turnovers tonight. 7 points, though. He's usually efficient scoring. But going back to Minifield, I want to talk about him because I thought this guy, as much as anybody, 4 turnovers on a night when Arkansas had a lot. But if you take that away, it's hard to do. It's hard to say, well, just forget that. But 4 of 8 from the field. He was 0 for 3 from 3, but 3 of 4 at the free throw line, 11 points, 6 rebounds, a couple of assists. He played 28 minutes, but a team-high box score plus 21. This guy was on the court in that second half. I mentioned it, 28 minutes of playing time. He was the go-to. I mean, L. Ellis, the senior transfer, got the start tonight and didn't play very long. Had an early turnover. But I really like Minifield's quick twitch, bursts, change of direction, change of pace, being able to shift east and west. And then he gets to spots because he creates a lot of space. He's 6'1", but he uses all that agility and quickness and a long frame, long wingspan to where he can be very effective. And we saw him hit in the mid-range, hit some runners, get all the way to the basket. Really liked some of the things that Keon Minifield brought to the table offensively. Defensively, this team has really struggled. It's hard to really encapsulate that when we talk about some of the stats. It's almost unbelievable to continue to say, well, this team struggles defensively. I'm going to put the glasses on because my handwriting's small tonight. Arkansas holds Abilene Christian to 28 of 72 from the field, 38.9%. The percentages were even first and second half. Arkansas kept this team under 40% in both halves. It's real close to 40, but anytime you do that against any team, that's pretty good. Arkansas, after giving up 3 of 7 from 3 in that first half. I mentioned McClain doubling up his season number. He had 2 threes coming in on the season, 2 in the first half. So Abilene Christian was shooting 4 of 7 from 3 in that, 3 of 7 from 3 in the first half, just over 42%. In the second half, this is where Arkansas did a better job. The Wildcats only 1 of 9 from 3. So that's just 11%. For the game, it's 4 of 16, 1 out of 4, 25%. So you're going to live with that, especially given that Arkansas, while keeping volume down on three-point attempts, 7 of 15, 46.7%. I mentioned Battle 3 of 4. Mark hit both of his three-point attempts. Chandler Lawson hit one early. I believe Trevor in Brazil knocked one in maybe. Did he? Not sure about that, but I think he did. I think he hit a 3. So Arkansas had several guys step up, and you had Mark and Battle, your 2 leading scorers, hitting multiple from distance. But 7 of 15, 46.7%, 5 of 9 in the second half. Now, Arkansas didn't shoot the ball well. Abilene Christian's defense really gave Arkansas fits in that first half. The Hogs were only 9 of 24, down in the 30s when you looked at percentage-wise for the Hogs, just like ACU in that first half. What was different was Arkansas in the second half, 18 of 28. There were only 9 assists in this game. Arkansas finished as 27 of 52, 51.9%. And so even though the percentage is really good, Abilene Christian actually finished with 15 assists to Arkansas's 9. So the better ball movement was on the other side, but Arkansas had better players in terms of playing one-on-one ball. We know Mark is one of the best at getting in from his dribble into the spots he likes. I think he missed some players cutting to the basket several times in this game because of the way that he plays. But against this opponent on this night in the second half, Arkansas's driving angles were better in those final 20 minutes. And they took advantage of some things. They must have made some halftime adjustments. I'm interested to hear what Eric Musselman says in the post-game press conference, which I haven't attended. I'm not at the game tonight. It's the second game this year I've missed. I'm back in the 501 in the man cave doing the post-game. But I want to hear Musselman's comments on this. You know, I mentioned the shooting for Arkansas, 64.3% in the second half, 18 of 28. I mentioned the 5 of 9 in the final 20 minutes from 3, 55.6%. Arkansas, 22 of 28 at the free throw line, 78.6%. Abilene Christian was a team that gets to the free throw line in volume. It's just what the team does. Arkansas won that battle, +8 in attempts, and Abilene Christian made only 13 of 20. So not a very good percentage there, 65%. Arkansas was much more efficient, 9 more makes. You win a game by 10 points, you end up out shooting the team from the free throw line, and you had better shooting percentages overall, but you outshot them at the free throw line, +9 there in makes. And you had a few more threes. You shot better from 3, and you made 3 more. Because Abilene Christian, as poorly as it shot, still made 1 more field goal overall than Arkansas. And we can go through some of these other stats that help tell the story, because when you shoot that much better than another team, and you include the free throw line, you're wondering, well, how did they get a lead? How did they stay in the game? And a lot of that was when you start looking around this table here, Arkansas dominated the glass overall by +11, 45-34. But Abilene Christian was +4 in offensive rebounds, 11 to 7. And they were able to cast that in for +10 in second chance points. So 19 to 9. Turnovers, Arkansas was awful in that department. 12 in the first half, better in the second half, only 5 giveaways in the final 20 minutes. But when you look at that 17 to 8 advantage for Abilene Christian, +9 in turnovers, and points off turnovers, another +9, 16 to 7. Fast break, +8 for Abilene Christian, 15 to 7. So kind of 16 to 7 in turnovers. So +9 there, but +8 in fast break, 15 to 7 for Abilene Christian, +2 in points in the paint. This is usually an area where if Arkansas is not losing points in the paint, it is usually fairly close. Against some of these mid-majors, Arkansas does better than that. But in this game, -2 points in the paint. Arkansas, only 2 steals in this game. This has been a problem for Arkansas. That's why you look at the transition numbers low tonight. You look at the turnover numbers. Arkansas didn't force enough, only 8 to force while surrendering 17. A lot of that was careless, self-inflicted wounds, by the way. But Arkansas gets beat in the steals department 10 to 2. Again, assist, Abilene Christian 15 to 9. This was not a share the basketball game, kind of game for Arkansas. We've seen this before this season where Arkansas, even in games it won, didn't have high assist numbers because it was just, 2 or 3 guys taking over with just better one-on-one offense than the defense was able to stop. In the first half, Abilene Christian did a really good job of getting Arkansas to turn the ball over, and Arkansas didn't get great looks. I thought in the second half, Arkansas's energy was better, and they made smarter drives, better drives. Again, I think they missed some easier shots off some of those drives, but when you get those tough buckets to fall, guys get hot. We've seen Tremont Mark do it over in the Bahamas before he got hurt. Went off and against North Carolina, the game he got hurt at the end. It hasn't been quite the same, but after a couple of single-digit games for Arkansas, now back in double-digit scoring and led the team in the last 2 games, which were both wins. Again, Lipscomb and Abilene Christian, and Arkansas had its struggles. I don't think Arkansas's at its best having 1 or 2 guys dribble the air out of the ball and go get buckets. But that's been the formula for winning these last couple of games. And, you continue to see Eric Musselman. Jeremiah Davenport started again. Goose egg tonight. Didn't play a whole lot. L. Ellis, I mentioned he was starting again. He's a guy that, in one of my more recent articles on HogvilleNET, I didn't mention him in my top rotation. As the minutes played out, the roles played out tonight, he started, but that was kind of that's kind of misleading because he didn't play. He didn't play much. You saw again, I mentioned Brazil struggled tonight at times. He'd struggled in a lot of areas where Arkansas needs toughness. And I think that helps explain the 15 minutes. Maybe he retweaked something and still dealing with injury, and I'm misspeaking. I don't know what Musselman talks about in the postgame. I just know Brazil for several games now has not played heavy minutes. We know he hurt his ankle at the end of that Furman game before Arkansas lost to OU, and then he started in that game and didn't play a ton. He played more minutes, I think, against Lipscomb, but here's another game where not a ton of minutes. So he's not been himself since he turned the ankle. He was a guy that was getting double doubles. I went through some of the star guys: Mark, Battle, Minifield. I mentioned Lawson. Devo Davis tonight, he was 4-4 at the foul line at the end. Missed a chippy layup at the end. Arkansas might have ended up winning this game by 12. But 2 assists, 3 rebounds, 35 big minutes, a box score plus 11. Mentioned Matt Battle led the team, box score plus 21. Minifield box score plus 21. Battle box score plus 17. Mark was plus 15 in the box. Lawson was plus 17 in his 25 minutes. So you go around the board. I mean, a lot of these guys, I mentioned some of the turnover problems, but the frontline guys tonight were Lawson and Graham. You want to see more rebounding, obviously, from Graham. That continues to be, and then some of his blocks, he's getting beat initially, and then he's just recovering well. He's long, he's athletic, and he's pretty quick off his feet. So, he does. It's really funny. He's quick off his feet, leaving the floor, but he doesn't move that great unless he's playing offense with his feet. I think defensively, he doesn't move all that great. In proactive defense, it's kind of recovery stuff, and then he's quick off of them once he leaves them. So, he's got some strengths there that he brings to the table. But I mean, going back to Tremont Mark, I mentioned the 25 and 11, 9 of 14 overall from the field. I said he was 2 of 2 from 3, 5 of 6 at the foul line. You just want your you want your guys who have the ball in their hands a lot. The 3 leading scorers, I mentioned it kind of down the stretch when they built that 13-point lead. Abilene Christian started fouling, trying to extend the game, and Mark missed the front end of a 1-and-1. I said that before. Battle and Minifield each went 1 of 2 at the line. So you went 2 of 5 in that stretch, effectively 2 of 6, because you didn't get the second part of that 1-and-1 for Mark. I guess that doesn't count as 2 of 6, but you even missed that free throw opportunity. Even when your top guys have stepped up and maybe were efficient overall in this game, you want them to nail that nail that coffin close at the end. Arkansas is just really struggling to get over that finish line with wins. But the big thing is, and it's always a positive when you win, again, Arkansas has won 4 out of 5. It may not feel like that kind of a roll and run, and that's not earth-shattering by any stretch. But remember, prior to that, Arkansas lost 3 out of 4 games. That went from Greensboro. Arkansas now, avoids another loss to a mid-major. I don't know how good you can feel going into SEC play as a Razorback fan. They're still, Musselman's nowhere near a top 7-8 rotation in terms of what he's done so far. After the prior game in North Little Rock, I asked him in the post-game press conference, do you feel like you have a better idea of what you're running with and who's going to go? And he said, yeah, I do. He has said that multiple times after games. And then we see games where just about everybody gets off the bench. Now, not as many played tonight. Didn't see, unless I missed something and blinked real quick, I didn't see Joseph Pinion Bayfall or Denaje Harris in this game. Remember, Arkansas is playing with 14 players now with Minifield back in terms of guys on scholarship, plus 1 non-scholarship, no longer a redshirt, now playing in game 2. So you effectively have 14 guys at your disposal. So I guess that means, who am I leaving out? But Blocker played tonight. So to me, that's 11 guys that checked in and played in this game. And so Musselman is not at a point where he's 7 or 8 deep in a rotation. He's not at a point where anything looks easy or comfortable with any group of players on this team. You saw what Battle, Minifield, and Mark did to help Arkansas, but that was really a lot of dribbling. And again, Arkansas, even though the Hogs finished with only 9 assists, we don't want to be too misleading about that. The ball movement was better in the second half, and it not necessarily ended with assists. A lot of guys taking long drives, but I thought Arkansas spacing was better, and I thought that they tilted the floor a little bit differently in terms of where bodies were, where you could pick and choose on how to get to spots. And I felt like Abilene Christian did a really good job in the first half of taking away things that Arkansas likes to do, and then the Hogs found ways to be better in the second half. Um, again, I'm going to go back to Tremont Mark now. To me, this is back-to-back games where he's player of the week or player of the game. And so, Arkansas had several days in between games. Arkansas is going to have a 9-day break before playing Wilmington, a team that's been pretty good mid-major, a team that knocked off then 12th ranked Kentucky in Rupp Arena a few weeks ago. And it's Arkansas's fourth game against a team out of the state of North Carolina this season. Arkansas looked to even that up because we know Arkansas mentioned it, the big win over Duke in the ACC SEC Challenge, the first ever. They played better with 4 guards and 1 big. That's how they win moving forward. Yeah, Brazil looks lost up there. Well, I mean, you said it. He's a guy that makes some wild plays. He had a few tonight, but he sometimes Swiss cheese matador on defense. He gets moved around too easily. Sometimes he gets caught ball watching. He and Graham, to me, both, they get stuck ball watching. Mekhi Mitchell, he has those spells too. Even Chandler Lawson, I saw 2 or 3 plays tonight where he just kind of got feet and cement stuck there, just kind of checking things out. I mean, you can't explain it any other way than just lapses with backcourt and front court when guys are getting all the way to the rim. Look, I mentioned these shooting percentages, under 40%. Some of that was Arkansas's defense, but how many open layups, I mean, uncontested layups, did Abilene Christian miss? How many times does Arkansas struggle to close out defensive possessions? They're having these huge margins on rebounding, and you're going, well, that's a win. But it's not, because you're holding teams to low percentage shooting. But if you're not getting rebounds to close out all of those possessions and they're getting a lot of offensive rebounds, they're finding ways to score off of those, and you're limiting your own possession, generating a new possession for yourself. This is how these teams, I mean, Abilene Christian tonight takes 20 more shots than Arkansas, makes only 1 more. But what was that all about? Hitting the offensive glass. I mentioned the disparities there. Winning the turnover battle, 10 steals to 2, 17 turnovers for Arkansas, only 8 for Abilene Christian. So they're generating possessions. And the fact they're missing a lot of shots is some credit to Arkansas's defense, but a lot of those buckets Arkansas's given up are just too easy, getting to the rim, or they're fouling, getting to the foul line. Arkansas did win the free throw battle tonight. 2 really good free throw attempt teams coming in. Arkansas was better there. I mentioned +8 in attempts, but +9 in free throws made. And for crying out loud, other than shooting better from 3, I mean, you win a game by 10 and you were +9 at the free throw line. How many times have we talked about Arkansas can be clunky, dysfunctional, problematic? One of the areas they're typically really sound in is defensively more consistently than they've been. But at least on offense, the free throw line, generating those free throws, that's where Arkansas has been pretty consistent under Musselman year in and year out. And they continue to be. They did it tonight. +9 at the line, and you win by 10. We could throw everything else out the window and say that's where the game was decided. It was at the free throw line. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but effectively, that was your margin. I still think Arkansas, Arkansas didn't close well against Lipscomb. Arkansas closed better here because you went +19 for, you got outscored by 2 points to start the second half. You are now down 9 and you're +19 the rest of the way. Yeah, you went up 13 and they whittled it down to 8. But I don't think Abilene Christian got any closer than 8 points down the stretch. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think they did. So even though Arkansas struggled a little bit, the foul line in there a little bit, I went through some of that. It never got down to a 2-possession game that I recall. I don't think, I need to go back and look through my notes, but I don't believe Abilene Christian ever got it down to a 2-possession deficit, 6 points or less down the stretch. So Arkansas closed better. You'd like to see them close 14, 15, 20-point wins at home against mid-majors. That's not going to be the formula every night. It's hard to do in college basketball. There's a ton of upsets. But Arkansas has been too much on the cusps of upsets, and we know they've lost 4 times in non-conference play with 1 to go against a team that's proven it can upset. David and Goliath kind of upset, went in a Rupp and beat then 12th ranked Kentucky. It's worth mentioning because when you look past that, you don't want to do that. You've got to win that game. Then you're 2-2 against North Carolina, the state of North Carolina. If you do that, you're 9-4. At that point, you'll have won 5 out of 6. Right now, it's 4 out of 5, 5 out of 6 going into league play. It's been ugly, but that's better than some of the alternatives that are on the table there. And then you're jumping into quad one games almost immediately. I mean, it is immediately. Auburn at home, top 30 is the requirement there for a home win. You got to be top 30 net. Auburn fits that mold. Auburn's a ranked team. Auburn's been a ranked team. Auburn's ranked inside the top 30 in net. That's a good Auburn Tigers team, very veteran team. You get them at Bud Walton Arena on January 6th. You'll have a week between games when you finish out, by the way. Well, Wilmington on December 30th, that's a Saturday. Over a week from now, a lot of prep time, a lot of time to maybe get better and work on things, see if you can drill down your rotation. Then you've got Wilmington, then it's Auburn, then you got back-to-back road games. Georgia, that's a game on the road. Georgia right now is 108 in net. They'll play Georgia twice this year, so it's 2 chances for a bad loss. The road game at 108 should only be a quad 2 result, so it wouldn't be a horrible loss as long as Georgia can maintain a net similar to where it is now. The game back in Bud Walton Arena, because of the way net and the quad system works, will be a quad 3 game against Georgia. But let's start with where Arkansas plays them first, and that's on the road after playing Auburn. Then you're on the road against Florida, a team ranked inside the top 75 net. So road games in net. If you win or lose against teams on the road ranked inside the top 75 in net, it's a quad 1 result. So 2 of the first 3 games are quad 1. Then you get A&M at home. Texas A&M, another team ranked inside the top 30 in net. Home games against top 30 net count as quad 1 result. So 3 out of the gates, 3 of the first 4 games based on net ratings now are going to be quad 1 opportunities. Plenty of time and opportunities for Arkansas to start stacking some of those. The key now is no more bad losses. You cannot afford to lose to Wilmington because Greensboro is a quad 3 loss. It was quad 2 for a minute when Greensboro, North Carolina Greensboro, was ranked inside the top 75 net. But that was a home loss, and they've taken a couple more games on the chin in a recent game as well, and so they're ranked out in the 130s or somewhere in there. That's a quad 3 loss. Really, Arkansas, when you look at LSU, you play home and away, so 2 games that can be problematic there. When you look at Vandy this year, and then that home game against Georgia, so those are the 4 games I've identified as really quad 3 or worse, quad 4. Result opportunities. So you got to find ways to take care of business in those, plus Wilmington. So about a handful of games. Now you've got to get some quality wins too, but there's going to be most of the rest of it is quad 1 or 2. And Arkansas can then, figure out a way. They got to win some games. I mean, Arkansas, 4 losses right now in non-conference play. That's twice more than Musselman's ever had as a head coach at Arkansas now in year 5 in non-conference play. But as it relates to net and taking care of business there, Arkansas is going to have maybe more opportunities than it's had in previous seasons when it gets to league play. It's been a good league. It's not great at the top. It's been a good league in years past. Maybe some better teams at the top. This league seems balanced to me. There's 8 or 9 teams that are, home or away. A good number of those are quad 1 opportunities, and so Arkansas is going to have a lot of those and some quad 2, but a lot of quad 1, and so. When we keep an eye on the record, you just got to find a way to get out of non-conference, holding your water at 9-4 at that point. And you would have won if that happens against Wilmington. Arkansas will be favored to win that game, but you'll have won at that point 5 out of 6 if that happens. And you've got something to some wind in your sails going into league play. The eye test tells us, as much as Arkansas has struggled out of the gates in league play in years past, the eye test tells us right now they may be headed for something similar. It was 1-5 last year league play. Keon is the key. I like that. Keon had other than the turnovers and all these guys, the backcourt guys to me give up too many drives to the basket. They play better. Okay, that was one I read earlier. Some other ones I missed. But yeah, I mean, Arkansas, as bad as they've been, that'll be a clean slate once you start league play. Again, you want to be 9. Devo isn't playing like a starter or good defender. Devo struggled defensively. All of them have. Tremont Mark's not the defender I thought he would be. But, man, he was tough tonight. You talk about checking boxes. He's had several games where he scores and doesn't give you a whole lot else. 11 big rebounds tonight. Got on that offensive glass. He's a guy that's taken the challenge. Again, has anyone stood out as an all-league kind of player now through 12 games? No. You see flashes from Brazil. You see flashes from Mark. We know Devo's an all-league defender. We know he's a preseason second-team all-SEC pick. Brazil was first team. National Player of the Year guy on that list. We know Arkansas beat Purdue in the exhibition season. There it is. You knew I'd make a reference to that Purdue win. It doesn't count. It doesn't help your net, but that's the number one team in the country. They had all their bullets and all their cards in their deck when they played the Razorbacks, and they tried to win that game. It was exhibition. But that plus Duke tells you Memphis is a ranked team now. This is a ranked Memphis team, and another top 30 net team. So that was a quad one result. If they were net top 50, it was a quad one result because it was played on a neutral side. But Arkansas lost that game by 5 points and had leads in that game, had a chance. Arkansas has been competitive in some of these games. Oklahoma competitive for 15 minutes, not enough. Can they put it together? I don't see anybody that when I look at them right now that I could say, okay, this is 1, 2, or 3 guys that are kind of playing at an all league level consistently. Got to fill it in around them. Hadn't been there. Has not been there. And you can look at it on both sides of the ball and see why that is. Again, some of these shooting percentages in some of these games, they have not. You could tell Arkansas's defense is just struggling based on that. And then other games where they're holding teams in the 40s, they're still giving up a ton of shots and free throws because they foul, give up 50-50 balls, offensive rebounds. And then on offense, turnovers, they're not creating enough on defense, one of the worst at it, and then giving up live ball turnovers, and teams are getting in transition. So your defense, even though some of the percentages tell you one story, you're like, that can't be all that bad. Yeah, when teams are getting up at 20 more shots than you in a game and finding ways to stay in it and take leads, it's telling you that a lot of other stuff's not working very well. Graham and Mitchell should never be on the court together. It kills spacing. Yeah, there's an argument that Arkansas is better with 4 guards and a big, but we've seen Arkansas's lineups and Musselman continue to play multiple bigs at the same time. That happens, and there's been stretches where that's been good. I think a lot of it's matchups. But I tend to agree that if you're going to play a game where you're trying to turn loose your best offensive players, there aren't any shot creators on that front line outside of Graham, 12 feet and in. And then Brazil, he has not been a shot creator. He's a guy I thought that more offense would run through, that he would be a difference maker by his ability to stretch the floor and some other things. He doesn't get a lot of shot attempts. He's averaging around 7 shot attempts a game, between 6 and 7. That's just not a lot. It needs to be minimum 10 a game, minimum, and probably closer to 14 or 15, maybe 16. There's not a lot of offense coming from that front line other than just opportunistic stuff, stick backs, or off of running to the dunker spot and feeding off a pass. Brazil again. He's capable. That we just don't see a lot of production from him in terms of the kind of volume you expect for a guy like that. He's a guy they were talking about, and NBA scouts were talking about in the preseason as a potential lottery pick, coming off of injury and missing almost a year. Again, he's had multiple, 3 or 4 double-doubles this season with some big rebounding numbers. He makes some wild plays. He's got that kind of talent. He's got, at minimum, back end of first round talent. But I don't know what other things are being exposed right now. I do know what they are. I don't know what the NBA folks are going to be able to make of it if this continues by the end of the year and where that lands him. That I don't know yet. I've had a couple ask me what's going on there. Just being candid. Those are the things that happen. And I'm not trying to knock on Brazil, but he's also had, coming off a knee injury, then the ankle. I don't know I don't know what's going on there. What I do know is here lately, he's not checking a ton of boxes for the Hogs. I'm going to go back to Battle a little bit. I think it was good to see him bounce back. He's a guy that's been pretty consistent scoring. There's not a lot of hustle plays. I mentioned Mark got his first offensive rebound tonight. Battle came into this game with only 1 offensive rebound on the season. He did finish with a total of 4 tonight, 4 rebounds. But the 18 points after only 2 in the previous game, playing with confidence tonight, again, playing off the bench. Arkansas's bench scoring, just clobbering teams on the margins on bench scoring. Doesn't mean, to me, that the bench scoring, it doesn't mean a whole lot if you're kind of sandbagging the way that you're running your starters and your best players off the bench. these are the guys playing the heavy minutes. So, I mean, Chandler Lawson, again, started tonight. Devo Davis started tonight. Brazil started tonight. L. Ellis and Jeremiah Davenport didn't contribute any points or much else in their very limited time. We didn't see much of Blogger. I think Minifield, we've talked about this when he first was announced he became eligible on Friday. Saturday morning, I did a pregame. I didn't do a pregame today, by the way, but I did a pregame before Lipscomb in North Little Rock and talked about him maybe being able to help Arkansas from a facilitator role and some other areas where they've kind of been missing. I'm not sold on him. I mean, because I don't think he is a true natural point guard. I think he may have more facilitator ability because of some of his talent to play off of. As he's able to create space and get defenders off balance and get into a numbers advantage because he can get by guys. So I think he might be a better setup guy than a lot of the players Arkansas has had or have tried at the one spot. We'll see how that plays out. I mean, he had a couple assists tonight, 6 rebounds. I mean, his length, his quickness, and his athleticism. And this guy's he's a good basketball player. But I like 4 of 8 from the field, 3 or 4 at the line. Really big second half offensively. Battle and Mark did most of the heavy lifting, shooting and scoring the basketball. But Minifield was kind of that Three Amigos guy. He jumped in there, and I like those rebounds, man. I mean, Mussman says it's all hands on deck. Arkansas's got to be a better rebounding team. It's time to put Battle in the starting lineup. He's a guy, I mean, I don't know how important that is. Because he checks in fairly early into games. I mean, we've seen a couple of guys start in the last 2 games. Pinion in North Little Rock tonight. It was Ellis, and they got off the floor pretty quick, and you had other guys coming in. Mark and Battle both got in early enough, and I don't know that putting him in as a starter to start the game. I mean, he's playing big minutes. What was it? I think 26 minutes tonight. So he's going to give you 26 to 33 minutes depending upon what the situation is. It's a starter kind of role. I mean, I respect the opinion, and you could be right. I mean, who knows Arkansas might just, it might be like jet fuel putting him in. Speaking of jet fuel, that's what Minifield reminds me of. We've seen Blocker. Blocker's more of a downhill A to B burst guy. There's not a lot of quick twitch shiftiness with him. It's more like that first step and then go. And he's very explosive getting to the rim. Minifield can change direction. He's got a nice change of pace. And I mentioned that quick twitch. I mean, you're not really sure where he might be going. And sometimes guys get in a little bit of trouble. They throw a little too much in there, stuff that's unnecessary. So they've got wasted movement, wasted dribbling. But that's what you're going to see some from freshmen. With him, though, some of it's really, really nice. And it adds an element that Arkansas doesn't have. Because you look at a guy like Battle, who's a good scorer, and a guy like Mark, you see guys hanging all over him. They don't get a ton of separation. They don't get a ton of lift over guys. I mean, Battle got a dunk tonight. I don't know if that was his first dunk of the year or not, but he had a nice pass from Devo cutting back door, and Arkansas had a few of those in the second half, finding guys. But he didn't. It wasn't an easy flush. So Arkansas doesn't have a lot of in the backcourt guys that are have that extra stuff athletically that, like, I think Blocker and Minifield bring in different ways. Even though they're small guards, they're probably Arkansas's most explosive guards and most athletic guards. And I like Minifield's length too. I mentioned the wingspan. 45 minutes in, it's HogvilleNET YouTube Live. I haven't even thanked my sponsors. What's wrong with me? Jose's Bar and Grill in Tawnytown, Fence Brokers Inc. here in Central Arkansas. It's Thursday night. It's the holiday season. Arkansas. I mean, you're going to get through Christmas with back-to-back wins on the resume. Football's looking up. Let's just say it. Petrino's been hired back in the program. See what he can do with the offense. Arkansas national signing date. I don't know how folks feel about that. But Arkansas got some good things done there in recruiting. We know it continues. But maybe football's looking up. Basketball, I don't think there's enough questions answered here to say that. I know they won tonight. I know I'm trying to make the positives out of it. 4 wins the last 5 games. Find a way to win. But the rotations look just clunky and dysfunctional. There's still problems on both sides of the ball. And Arkansas now, again, the next step is to win this last non-conference game, North Carolina Wilmington. Get to 9-4, protect home court. Don't add a bad loss. Just get yourself into SEC play and then see what the chips fall. Again, Arkansas has really been poor in SEC play in the previous 3 seasons out of the gates. You could be looking at that again with this team. I'm not so sure that this team ever has I talk to folks I respect who think Arkansas could be a 6-12 SEC team. I've heard that before, though. I've heard similar comments before, and never before did I feel like it would land like that. I thought they'd figure some things out, even when I wasn't sure exactly how Musselman would do it. But I feel like there are more questions this time around. I think there are more problems this time around. There is an overall lack of toughness on this team, and unlike previous years, I can't even identify a guy who I trust as this is an all-league guy or he's really close to it. I don't know. I don't know that that's there. I mean, maybe Tremont Mark. He's starting to kind of get things going again. Battle as a 6 man. He might be a guy that's in contention for 6 man of the year. That's an all league award. He may be someone that threatens that. Arkansas's going to win games though. You're not going to get something like that if you're 6-12 or if you're whatever 7-11, 8-10 again. That's what Arkansas did last year. Arkansas had significant injury problems. Basically replaced the entire roster. Disappointing to see guys that you returned, plus all this experience you brought in, plus these. Look, I will not change any talking point that I started with because I will remind you Purdue and Duke, and I'll remind you that the years of experience add up, the talent, the depth of talent at each position, the skill sets at each position, but man, the intangibles, the toughness. The physicality, the smart physicality, winning where it's needed, and just effort plays, hustle plays. Closing out drives is about effort. Winning 50-50 balls is about effort. Cleaning up the glass. I mean, you're plus 11 there, but you keep losing on the offensive glass. A lot of that's those loose balls and just being just guys not rotating right or being proactive or smartly reactive, whatever. There's a huge lack of a lot of this stuff on this team collectively. Musselman keeps talking about how great their practices are. Woo! What does that tell you? It tells you what? That guys are going up against guys who maybe are both, they don't do a lot of live. They're not doing a lot of 5-on-5, but whatever they're doing, and it's working in practice, it's not translating against other teams and other players. And and most of these teams that Arkansas has played and struggled against, most of them don't have the caliber or quality of players that Arkansas has in terms of talent, athleticism, size, length, a lot of this stuff we talk about that we know is important. So I don't know. All right, 48 minutes in, we're going to wrap it up here. Arkansas Razorbacks, 83-73, come from behind, down 9 to start the second half, a 19-point swing to win it by 10. I mentioned it, 4 wins out of their last 5, including a 1-1 record in that stretch in quad 1 games. Win over Duke, lost to Oklahoma, 2 very good teams. But how good is Arkansas? From my vantage point, when you got a little stretch of wins and you're finding ways, that matters. But how good is Arkansas? Other things tell me not a very good basketball team right now. But they were good enough in this game in the second half down the stretch to win it by double digits. The next time we see you for a game will be on Saturday, December 30th, Bud Walton Arena. It's a dangerous North Carolina Wilmington. Tip-off for that game is 4 p.m. Central Time. And that's will be another SEC network. We're completely out of the live stream realm. But I plan that day at being back at Jose's Bar and Grill in Town to do a pregame. It'll be early. It'll be like an early lunch over there, brunch maybe. And then I'll shuttle down to Bud Walton Arena in Fayetteville. And then we'll have a post game that night as well. But until then, signing off, Arkansas 83, Abilene Christian 73. The Razorbacks are 8-4, winners of 4 of their last 5 games. Until next time, see you then.